Hi,
Hi, how are you doing?
I'm great. I'm great. How are you?
I am good. How was your week?
Uh, it was very busy. It was very busy. It was busy at work, and I had to wrestle with doctors,
Uh-huh.
inefficiencies,
Mm-hmm.
uh, uh, constant texts from their robot offices
Yeah,
asking
yeah, yeah, yeah.
to log on and tell them whether I had ever had a heart attack. I've done this so many times, right?
Yes.
And
Yeah,
they don't talk to each other.
of
And
course.
I found out at the last minute I had to get a prescription for some ointment that they didn't tell me what it was for. So I called the woman who's a surgical something or other, and she sent me a email, and she said you have to put a pea-sized portion in your nasal area 3 times a day.
Okay.
So I asked her what she meant by nasal area
Area, because that's pretty vague.
because
Yeah.
she didn't reply. So after Googling, I've decided I put it in up my nose.
But I think that's what they meant you to do, but they don't want to say that.
Yeah,
Yeah.
and I have no idea what this is for because
Oh.
it's. I mean, why it has anything to do with my hip?
And this is all related to your hip, of course. No, of course.
I
For
mean,
yeah,
I
apropos
mean,
of yeah.
I have to put on this soap, this disinfectant soap for when I shower for a couple of days. That I understand.
Sure. Yeah, yeah, yeah.
But the stuff up my nose.
Right. Okay, my comedy of errors comes literally from just moments ago.
Tell me.
So, yeah, I hear someone shuffling on my doorstep. I actually think it's my cat because she often will just scratch at the door, and I'm yelling, "Luna, I'll be with you in a second," but I'm doing my thing. Um, then I hear a voice, and they say, "Well," they're angry, and they say, "Well, I've been here for an hour, and blah, no one's answering, and blah blah blah." I say, "Okay." Um, so I go to the door. I go to the door. I put on a mask. I open the door. I think that they have some kind of like like pad or computer device in their hand, and he immediately starts yelling at me. I've been here for an hour. Why didn't you? So first off, one thing is if you okay, if I you've been here. You know where the living room, where my bedroom, where the kitchen is. If you knock at a reasonable volume, I will answer the door. But if you because this has come up before, if you timidly knock or if you I
If you
might not
stand
know.
there with an iPad, they're not going to know that, right?
Yeah, no, if you right. Okay, he didn't have an I let me I'll get to that. But so maybe he knocked, maybe he didn't. First of all, he wasn't there for an hour. He's at most, because I heard the shuffling from when he
Yeah.
showed up, maybe 5 to 10 minutes. I've been here an hour. I said, okay, who are you? Then he just tells me his name and stares at me defiantly. Okay, I'm sorry. Who are you? Why are you here? Well, they said you needed your lawnmower. No, 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 no. And so immediately before, because I've had people, they try all sorts of different
Yeah,
tactics,
yeah,
many of which try to imply you already booked an appointment or someone
yeah,
else in your
yeah.
household. So I said, no, 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 no one's mowing my lawn. I have a person who mows my lawn. No mowing my lawn. He's still yelling. He's still. And then I realized what he has in my hand is his hand is actually my own porch light. And I said, "Is that
What?
my porch light? Did you break it?" And I realized the part that is mounted is broken. And he puts it down. And he goes, "No, it was like that." And it's literally in his hand. At that point, he's still yelling, "Don't lie to me." They said, and I said, "Well, I don't look. It's not this address." He starts to leave. He's still yelling, "Don't lie to me." I said, "Don't come back." He does say, "Well, obviously." So I think we at least we agree on that. He hits the tailgate on my truck and goes off. I mean, I don't feel like he's going to come back. I genuinely believe he probably had some lead that he thought that this was, and I think he
He
sincerely,
was really mad at the person who gave him your address.
yes, and
I
yes,
think that's that.
yeah. And I don't know people, and that's the other thing. These side streets, like I don't know if it's 4303 44th or 40. Like I get people showing up at my address for the wrong address or just the house across, all the time. And so,
Yeah, of
yeah,
course.
I'm sure,
And you're the
best of
house
luck
on
to
the
him.
corner too. You're the
What?
one on the corner. So
Yes, oftentimes if people are just lost, they stop at my house because my house A is on the corner, B actually has numbers on it. And so, if nothing else, so I don't know. I wish him the best, but it was just. And yeah, I don't know. Anyway, the mount wasn't actually broken. I was able to put it back on, and it was, it's all
but
fine.
he had obviously touched it and it had come off in his hand
Yeah,
or
yeah, yeah, yeah. And he was still holding it when I answered the door, but he's still like his approach was still to be aggressive and angry at me. Just his sort of like, and this is the other thing, I guess. I mean, I noticed this at the beginning of the pandemic too. Just an uptick of people showing up at my door, often in distress, whether it's angry or with a sob story that they want. But and I'm noticing it again right now, and I don't know if it's inflation and blah 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 and gas price, but it's. I don't know. I mean, it's hard times again. It just feels.
yeah, I don't know. I've had to teach myself to be patient a lot, I had to go yesterday morning. Well, they keep giving me these last minute things I have to
Yes.
do. And then they said I had to have a PCR test.
Oh
Like,
yeah, yeah, yeah.
so, I mean, I could go anywhere for that, but they said, come to this is where my orthopedist is, and they have
Sure.
offices on, they said, come to the office. We'll do it at 9 o'clock a.m. Right. So I'm on my way to work. This was Thursday morning. I'm on my way to work. I go to the office. I'm there at 10 to 9. It's filled. There are people waiting. It's all, it's working. There are two young ladies behind the desk. I go up to one, and they already have a kind of I'm really busy attitude, even
Yeah.
though they're not really busy. Okay.
Yeah.
So I tell her, she finds my name right away, and she says, okay, I'll call them, sit down. Okay. So I sit down, and I don't know whether she's called anybody or not, but at 20 minutes later,
Yes.
I go up to the desk and I say, I'm sorry, but I don't have a lot of time. And I just came for, I already told them. Wait a minute. Yeah, they'll be right there. Okay. Meanwhile, there was a young woman coming in and out of the inside offices, not a nurse. She was and she was chatting with the ladies behind the desk, right? She was just
Sure.
kind of, as they do.
Yes. No. Sure. Sure. Sure.
And when patients came in, they sorted them out. But I wait another 10 minutes, okay?
Right.
And by now I've been there half an hour for PCR test. So I go back up. I'm very polite. And she says, "Oh, Evan's coming right out. Evan's coming out. Okay, she'll come out."
When in doubt, blame Evan. Sure.
5 minutes later, Evan comes out. She's the one that's been chatting with them at the desk. Right? This is good. Right?
I mean, I'm not laughing.
No, I know it's good. She comes out. I go into a little office. She takes out a what do you call it? A nose,
Yeah.
and she wipes one nostril and she says, "Okay, thank you," and that's it. All right. So
How long did you wait total?
well, probably 35 minutes. It was, I I could have gone on the street, right, to one of these.
Right. No. Right.
And
Yeah.
actually, I haven't had any. Despite all of their technology and emails and texts, I never got. I assume they told my doctor, but I didn't get a result. They didn't tell me
Right.
whether.
No. Right. Yeah. Right. Well.
Like and then anyway.
But no
It's
news is good
comedy
news.
of errors. I don't think this will continue through the surgery itself.
Of course. And that's on Wednesday or Tuesday?
On Tuesday.
Tuesday.
They're going to keep saying now, which side is it? Which hip is it? And then they'll put a marker on it.
It's very confident when they draw big.
Yes, exactly. It gives you great confidence. Uh,
An X on the other side that
so
says
you
"Don't
imagine
cut
there's,
here."
there's a kind of a a production line. Next,
Yeah,
he
yeah, yeah.
just looks for where the marker is and plugs it in. Yeah. So I'm going in at they do two a day
Yep.
at 7 and 11, and I'm the 11 o'clock, which means I'll probably have to stay overnight, and I'll
Mm-hmm.
be home Wednesday. And I mean I ordered a chair which was supposed to come while I was in the city. It was delivered yesterday, so somehow it's hopefully in the lobby of the
Yeah.
of 335. It's a cheapy. It's for raising yourself,
Yeah, 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 yeah.
you
Yeah.
know, but so, and I think Victoria's ordered uh, something to sit in the shower. I don't, we'll
Sure.
see. I mean, I'm not so concerned about that. I mean, I'm now thinking, do I really need to do this? Well, it's too late. I mean,
Sure. No, of course, of
going to
course.
happen. Will I feel a lot better because I have other stuff going on? So I've lowered my expectations,
Right.
and I've raised my idea of how long it will take to get back.
Sure.
And all the stuff that last week at work got very, very busy,
Right.
but I think I've managed to let everybody know that I won't be around,
Yes.
and to delegate. So yeah, so plus plus Art Basel Art Fair is next week, so
I
most
know.
of
No.
them
Yeah.
will
Yeah.
be there. They'll be there. So
Yeah.
it's not a uh so anyway, yeah, the only funny thing that happened yesterday, I had a NIFA Zoom
Sure.
meeting, and it turned out that at least three of us had dogs on our laps, so it turned into
Yes.
a dog show.
Yes. No, that's always great. Yeah. Yeah.
And
Yeah. Yeah.
somebody said, "Can we be done with the dog show and get on with the meeting?" Well, I don't know. So, are you going to a protest? Are you?
I am. I am skeptical about this one. It is so. Today is the National March for Our Lives. I'm wearing the shirt for it,
Yeah,
which is
yeah, I know. I was watching the news this morning and
yeah.
listened to the high school kids from Parkland
Yes,
who,
no, this is
yeah,
yeah, and so I actually the first one was in 2018, and I participated in that. Um, obviously the big one, the national one, is in Washington
yeah,
D.C. There are 450 in cities all across the U.S. What was weird was on their website there wasn't one listed for Seattle. Like there was like Bremerton and Portland
right,
all
right,
around. The Seattle one is not being put on by the same national organization, but it's being put on by the NAACP, and they have the mayor of Seattle who is a hardline, tough on crime. I mean, he's a black guy. I mean, he's half black, half Japanese. Um, the NAACP, just looking at their website, it's interesting. They seem very well. First of all, pretty close in with the Chamber of Commerce, which is they do things like congratulate King County Sheriff as the first female black sheriff, which is great. But I mean, we just had City of Seattle just had a female black chief who deleted thousands and thousands of texts, which he's I mean still under investigation for.
yeah, yeah,
They just seem very performative, and I know this city has a history of propping up and using, and I talked about this, using certain organizations, especially old guard organizations, when young new organizations come and say, hey, we want, for instance, meaningful police reform. They say, well, hey, we have these organizations. I think the NAACP is one of them, who say what you're doing is fine. The point being, this doesn't feel like a real grassroots. This isn't student led. This is something put on by the city, but it is a gun violence tribute. This is a, so I'm going to go
yeah.
skeptically. I
Do you
still go
do
with
you think do you think that the NAACP, because of its history, or not, but of its longevity, has grafted itself onto the establishment. I
I
mean,
can't.
to the center of establishment, but
I
so that
think. I
in
think
some
yes and no.
communities, it's part of that. You know, if it's a democratic community, the NAACP is part of the power structure.
Yes, and you know, I mean, and my with the opinions I express are purely own. But the organization I work for now is experiencing those growing pains now, where we've reached a certain level and size, and we have sort of ongoing recurring contracts and things, and that puts us at odds with, for instance, staff who want us to be more vocal and put out a statement around X, Y, or Z. Um, we have to be more neutral. Yes, I think that's true of the NAACP national organization. Yes, I think of any organization of that size, of that age, that has that kind of legacy. I think to a certain extent that's true. I was speaking more specifically about the local chapter. I was just looking at their website and saying, I'm not seeing much that's really. I saw one little sort of corner way down in the corner, like youth activists. Here's a little scholarship that we're doing, but I didn't see anything that like what they're really doing in the community. They seem to just do a lot of sort of self-publicizing and sort of meet and greets with city officials. And so, yes, they're locked in with that, but that's not listening to the
They're
community.
not. It doesn't seem to be as street active. I mean, the ACLU still seems to be on the front line. I mean, they seem to. In other words, I always get notices from them about stuff that is in the news, and they seem to be.
And I mean, and the ACLU actually employs lawyers and actually like fights laws. Yeah, no, and you know, and sometimes even in defense of um, nationalists, but not in the same way that Elon Musk does, sort of cynically. And but like, I mean, really, when it's a genuine and sincere free speech issue, because the ACLU is. I have a lot of respect for them as an organization. Yeah, and again, I don't want to say anything about the NAACP overall, but I'm speaking specifically. The local chapter seems very establishment, and that's fine. I'm just curious what kind of event this is. There's another one tomorrow morning that's in Shoreline, which is a little bit north. I'm going to go to that as well, and I'm looking. That's going to be more grassroots and community led. That's at an elementary. It's meeting in an elementary parking lot. But no, I mean some of the things. If we're going to talk about guns, all right, a third of all. I'm sorry, not a third. That would make sense. Or that 3% of all Americans own 50% of the guns. Right. So that that's right there is almost what.
So that's why 90% of the country is for gun control, right?
It's either incredibly for it, or at the very least,
97% of the country actually.
It's either incredibly for it, or at least like that's not my issue. But
3%.
3% own 50% of the guns, and that does mean the other 50 is sort of spread out. But that's still the concentration. So the average gun owner collection is anywhere from 8 to 140 guns, and the average is about 17. So 20 guns per person.
I need my guns, okay? One might not work. I don't know. The guy's coming through my door.
But I mean, when we talk about how wide the divide is, we're talking about people who take all their guns, I swear to goodness, I hope unloaded, put their children in the middle, because this is a memed image. They've done it over and over. I can show you 20 examples, because it's supposed to be about protecting the children. Surround the children with their guns, take a picture of this in their driveway and post it to social media to represent this is who they really see themselves as. That's their values. So when you talk about there's a divide in this country.
If we saw an image of a community in Yemen where they put a child in the middle of a pile of guns, we would say, oh my God.
We do, yeah. I mean,
right,
yeah.
And yet,
right.
It is literally beyond me. I get angry when I see some of these people who are really they've been involved, they've lost kids, and they're rejoicing that they can move the gun lobby like a tiny, tiny millimeter in one direction.
Yeah.
I mean, like I mean, okay, but to get 10 Republican senators to agree on red flag laws, right? And they won't agree
Right.
on raising the age,
Mhm.
but they might agree on background checks for 18-year-olds. I mean, it's so far from protecting the country, I think. I mean, it's like, is it what? I mean, of course it's worth, you can't say it's not worth it.
No, I know.
It
Yeah.
might save a life or two, but it's nowhere near.
It's incremental. Yeah.
It's still gun country. It's still a gun country.
It's still a gun country. And
Yeah.
yeah, no, and I mean, it's in very important. Well, but again, no, but not as individuals. It's not a country made of gun people. It's a
No,
country controlled
it's a
by a gun
culture.
lobby. The
Yeah.
NRA used to be an organization of individuals. They barely care whether people join or they have membership. They're a organization of the gun manufacturers and distributors, and that's who they represent. That's who is their membership now. Their goal. They have, they have. I mean, it doesn't even matter whether their conference, if next year no musicians show up, if it gets canceled, they don't care because it's not about the conference anymore. It's about the gold tier hotel back room meetings that no one ever sees or gets reported on anyway. So, and that's all lobbyists and the gun manufacturers.
There is no product in this country that has absolutely no liability as far as the public goes, except the guns have the gun manufacturers have no liability, right?
Yeah.
If you're a candy manufacturer, you have huge liabilities,
Yeah.
right? If you're a baby formula manufacturer, shut down.
I mean, no, and I work in.
If you're a gun manufacturer, you cannot be sued.
Right. No. Okay. Well, I mean, someone put it very, I can't remember. I wish I could attribute accurately. We live in a country where lawn darts have been illegal for 50 years, but anyone can buy an AR-15. I mean, it's an assault rifle.
That's been illegal?
Lawn darts. Do you remember they used to be popular pre the 70s. They're darts. Lawn.
Oh, yes.
I remember we had them. Actually, I think they probably still have them in Canada because I think they're still legal in Canada.
Yeah, they're still. We had them. Yeah.
Yeah.
They're illegal, right?
They're illegal in the United
States. A kid might get hurt.
A kid might get hurt. Okay. Daniel Manufacturing, which is the gun that was used both in Buffalo and in Uvalde, has an ad with a toddler holding their rifle. The message of the ad is how easy it is to use. I mean, it is mind-boggling. But again, someone thinks that's clever. More than one person approved that ad before it and then it ran. And until their gun was used in multiple violence, it didn't even get seen. It really only got seen within the community for whom it was meant to, yeah. And they all approved of it. So it's.
Well, when they were having an online conference, I think it was in Congress, this Republican congressman started pulling his guns out at home.
Oh, I saw that. I read about that. Yeah.
And saying, I can do anything. And somebody said, I hope it's not loaded. And he said, I can do anything in my home.
Yep. A politician did that here and actually got in trouble. I guess you can't get that away, but that politician, as far as I know, had no repercussions or there was nothing illegal. At least here, even I think it was obviously it was a Republican, and even their Republican colleagues censored them because even the Republicans in Washington, that's going a little bit far. But someone did that like maybe 6 months ago here. They pulled out a gun on a Zoom meeting. And it caused an uproar immediately. But yeah, no, it caused an uproar, but there were no repercussions for that politician. According to the law, they can actually.
Yeah, but he probably knows who's going to vote for him. I mean, he's probably.
Oh, I mean, and that's the whole thing. These things work. I mean, they're okay. Well, two things I want to. Yeah, okay. We have to finish up. We had started a discussion last week about sort of patriotism, nationalism, the royal family, and the Jubilee.
Oh, yeah. Yeah, I don't know. I don't my I'm not sure the perspective that the US media is reporting accurately the totality of the UK's response. In other words,
Oh, I think you started to say, but say this again. Yeah, no,
no,
yeah, go.
I think that because there's a um, it seems to me that both the right and the left media in this country have a fascination and a less than begrudging admiration for the royal family
Sure.
that that is that that doesn't exist in the UK. In other words, in the UK, you like a lot of people really like them, and a
Sure,
lot
of
of
course.
people absolutely don't care, and
Right.
quite a lot of people think they're a waste of time.
Sure. No, and people no, people debate openly, should
And
we still fund them? Should they
there's
still
a lot of jokes, and
Yeah, 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 yeah.
in fact,
Hold on.
they
I think it actually is the cat at my door now. Hold on.
okay.
Yeah. Yeah.
Doggies.
So yeah, no, no,
So
better jokes.
I think that when you see the 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 royal family in the balcony and the crowds and waving and Union Jacks,
Yeah.
etc. Um, unlike when she was crowned in 1953, where that was probably happening in every town, every city, every village in the country, right?
Right.
Because they were also celebrating, in a way, the end of the war.
Right. Oh no. Right. Right.
Yeah,
Right.
there was a lot of symbolism. Now, I think that the there is an appetite in this country for the foibles, the drama and the foibles of the royal family, that is a kind of Downton Abbey spin-off.
Yes.
That
And the crown. I mean, and the crown, which is
and the
literally
crown, yes.
yeah.
And I think that it, I don't think that at home actually they're getting that
Well, okay.
admiration and respect.
Okay. Here. Okay. Here's okay. Well, here are the threads of what. Okay. Well, one thing that I've noticed, People Magazine now has a People Royals edition, and it's all. I mean, this is a U.S. publication, but it's all devoted to the royals, but designed exactly like their regular people, which is U.S. celebrities typically.
Yeah.
Um, Part of this, I wonder, this is obviously Meghan Markle and Harry, the whole drama of them versus the crown, versus
Yes.
that's real or manufactured. Um, no, I think everything you're saying is right. I think it's especially how they're portrayed here. But no, here's the other thing, and I want to I'm going to share screen, which we don't normally do.
Okay.
But the other part, just about the Jubilee, what I get, what I was taught, what here's, even in the UK, first it was compared to Nazism, the just how
I see.
the
Yeah.
level of patriotism, and it's a lot. I mean, that's a lot. I always say, I think it's always it's dangerous to compare. But then the other part that I think is similar to the US, in New York, when there were police funerals, I think it was last summer, some people, including Susan Sarandon, who I didn't realize she's practically as big a right boogie monster as George Sonos. They love to invoke Susan Sarandon apparently, but she basically said that she compared it to whatever, the Fourth Reich or what have you, but it was all this, like, again, it was American flags, but also around police in particular, and it was in the subways, and I wasn't there, but it was this very patriotic show around these police funerals. And I'm just sort of the notion that any show of patriotism, not everyone responds the same way to the flag, and there's a reason for that. And part of that reason are people who, and this is a term I learned this week, I think, patriotism, who wrap themselves up in the flag to use for nationalism, so if you're going to be on the same side as people who do that, don't be surprised that not everyone is as comfortable wrapping themselves up in the flag. Discuss. I guess that was my sort
Okay,
of rant.
I've got a very interesting factoid relevant to
Yes,
that.
please.
Okay, because that image is a little bit horrifying to me,
Mm-hmm.
actually. Um, uh, so yeah, it this is we've actually we've come to a point where that national symbol and maybe the US flag in this country is has become uh I'd say kidnapped by extremists, right? And in a way it's changed the language of the flag too. I
Mm-hmm.
mean, it does affect it. So going back to, I just read this, when Queen Elizabeth was crowned, this is 1953,
Right.
right? There was an architect and designer in England called Hugh Cason. He'd been an artist, he was a famous architect. There was a Festival of Britain in 1951, which was like to celebrate the war being over.
Right.
And he
Right.
was a leading designer of that. There was kind of space age buildings. I remember it. I went there. I was 6 or 7. So when for her coronation, Sir Hugh Cason was basically commissioned to create the colors for the procession
Yes.
of
Yeah. Yeah.
the, yeah, and he deliberately avoided red, white, and blue because he thought it was too nationalistically jarring.
Yeah.
And he decided on lilac and pink and something else.
Yeah.
And nobody complained. Nobody, I don't
Right.
know. You know, there were people waving little flags,
Sure.
right?
But
Every little kid had a flag,
yeah.
but it wasn't um it wasn't like a tent of a tent of flags.
Right.
And then in the 60s in England, in London, the British flag became kind of a campy thing.
Sure. Yes. Yeah. Yeah. Oh yeah. Yeah.
The Who had an
Yeah.
album
Yeah.
cover where they're kind of in a Union Jack blanket. So and that wasn't necessarily mocking it, but it was certainly bringing it.
No, and you helped me understand this. When I was growing up, we've never talked about this on this show, but this is, I mean, the same thing with the U.S. flag and hippies and, image. I don't know. I'm thinking of like Don McLean, American Pie. I don't know, or people painting it on their faces, but it was not even. It's
Well, Abby Hoffman wore an American flag shirt on the Tonight Show,
right.
and they blurred it out. No, I'm serious.
Just because it was him, or just because?
Yeah,
I mean, yeah.
because you're not supposed to wear
Oh,
it.
because you're not supposed to wear. But anyone. And now they do it all the time. No, all the things. First of all, yeah. If you know the flag code, you're not supposed to wear it. You're not supposed to display it backwards. You're not supposed. There are all these things that the flag wavers do all wrong. If they really care about the flag,
Yeah.
But yeah, no. Obviously there was flag burning, but no. The sort of ironic. And not even ironic, because it's like you said, it's not even ironic, but the reappropriation by counterculture of patriotic imagery that happened in the late 60s, and then again around the bicentennial, which is like when I was born. There was both the real patriotism of 17, but there was sort of just putting a peace symbol that had the pride flag, the flag on it on a jacket, and that had a very different meaning.
So in 1989, Dred Scott, who was then still a student, I think in Philadelphia, I don't know the school of, anyway, he exhibited a piece called How to Display the American Flag, which was on the ground, so you could walk on it.
Yes, no, yeah.
President Bush, then the first, said he should be put in jail. I mean,
President Bush is also, I mean, the with us or against us. That was actually that was the beginning of the dividing line of where the flag stopped being for everyone, where the flag, I mean, where Yeah, no. I mean, I have a comic. I'll send it to you where it's like patriotism is pride in who you are, and that's okay. Nationalism is pride in who you're not with, who you're against, who you're, and
Yes,
it
exactly. No, you're absolutely right. You're absolutely right. Which essentially describes the problems that Europe has now with the European
oh,
Union.
I mean, yeah,
Because
no,
the
yeah, yeah,
countries
yeah.
that
Oh, yeah, yeah.
decided to join the European Union were not what that is not a nationalistic point of view. That's pride in themselves, but a willingness to be part of a bigger world. All of the people who want to exit from that are nationalists. They're basically on the right. I mean, maybe there is some left, maybe there's some socialist groups that want out of the European Union, but for bureaucratic reasons. But basically, the countries that are having the big problems, it's nationalism. It's Hungary. I mean, Britain with Brexit.
Yep, yeah, yeah.
That's highly national. And
Oh,
Boris
yeah.
Johnson and his pals, his posh school pals, were brought up with that in their blood.
Well, you remember, I mean, well, I haven't gone back since. I should go back. I want to go back. You had encouraged me to visit again, and other family members to visit. Um, but no, the last time I was there, you remember, I called you in tears. I couldn't believe London still had skinheads, like roving bands of
Yeah,
skinheads harassing people. I was like, wow,
yeah,
this is the late '90s. Um, but
yeah. And since then, you've had all you. No, it's yeah.
yeah.
Anyway,
No,
I
again,
like that. I like that your definition of patriotism and nationalism.
it's not mine again. Yeah, I'll send you the comic and I'll tribute. But okay, no, okay. Back to the guns very briefly. The Second Amendment that they love to talks about a well-regulated militia. What
Yes,
well-regulated? That is the part
yes,
that we need to
yeah.
control the
No,
language around.
no. And then a militia means an organized
And again, okay, when I
group.
say that, I'm in favor of more well-regulated, not more malicious, because we do already have Oath Keepers and Proud Boys, and those are scary. But and we don't want more of those, but we want well-regulated, and we want and that's part that the law actually accounts for everything that everyone's piecemeal kind of begging
But
for.
doesn't that mean that that the militia's equipment should be regulated as well as the militia? I mean,
Right?
right?
No, I'm yeah. Well, I'm not a constitutionalist like Ginny Thomas, who wrote 29 Arizona, not one, not two. It turns out she wrote 29 Arizona lawmakers trying to get them to set aside votes and choose new electors, which again, she's a lawyer, so she should be disbarred. And she's the wife of her level of influence is and this is what she spends her time doing. I mean, it's no one's going to believe it. I guarantee you by next week the report, or the main, even not even just Fox, the mainstream report will be, was it 29 or was it closer to 2 or 3? We can't really tell, because 29 sounds so outrageous that she would sit there, I'm sure she cut and pasted, but writing letter after letter. This is how she spends her time.
Maybe she's the uh what's her name, character in the Manchurian Candidate. I don't know. I mean,
Well, okay, Ron DeSantis's press secretary had to declare as a foreign asset for Georgia, obviously the country, not the state,
yes, yes,
because
yes.
yeah. Okay, in our last minute, we have 1 minute.
Okay.
The wig gentleman who with the Mona Lisa. I didn't want to talk about it at all, but let's get cut off if we're going to talk about it at all.
I think he's a self promoter. I
Oh,
don't think. Yeah, I don't think it was
about the
political.
environment, or
I don't think it was. I think he was. I think he was. Yeah, it may turn out that he's an artist and he figures that's a work of art or a performance piece
but
or
okay,
whatever.
well, it's ableist, it's transphobe. I mean, it's everything that they're saying that they're going to use wearing a dress to infiltrate places. This actually enables transphobia. That's what they're saying. That's what all the locker room laws are about. So this person doing this is proof of that. But
So the
also
guy was
people are
wearing a
claiming that
dress
that's
and
a
he was in
trans
a
individual,
wheelchair,
which,
right?
what? I'm sorry, I'm
He was
yelling.
wearing a dress and he was